CIO Whisper. South America. A billion-dollar deal just closed. A global giant takes over a struggling ferrous plant. Smiles. Champagne. The boardroom celebrates a revival. But beneath the floor plates, something's waiting. Outside, the plant looked ready to roar. But inside, systems were ancient. Engineers burnt out. Material vanished without a trace. And audits? Buried in spreadsheets. On paper, everything looked fine. But beneath the surface, the plant's operations were far more complex than expected. Running on SAP S for HANA with older workflows, the plant managed core operations like coke ovens, sintering, blast furnace, and SMS, all relying heavily on human expertise. Yet, the data was fragmented across disconnected systems, making it difficult to scale or gain meaningful insights. Despite the recent implementation of SAP Joule, it wasn't yet enterprise-wide and couldn't address the plant's integration needs. Regulatory requirements and safety protocols required a seamless flow of data, but the plant's legacy systems and the fragmented data prevented that from happening. The need for a more intelligent and integrated solution was becoming urgent. They realized that the overhaul of the ferrous plant was required going forward, in which modernization of IT was also part. Today, we'll focus on the IT transformation of this struggling plant, the backbone that will help it rise again, while the modernization of the balance also continued in parallel. Now that you've seen the mess, you're the CIO. What would you fix first? Drop your first move in the comments. The MD declared, "This isn't just a plant. It's a national strategic unit. Turnaround is non-negotiable." The CEO didn't mince words, "Get it done. Fast." The CIO stepped forward, not just to stabilize IT, but to lead the plant's digital rescue mission. The CIO isn't alone in this mission. Meet the team driving the change. Experts handpicked to navigate this complex digital transformation. The CEO's directive is clear. Make it happen. The MD insists on national importance. And the CIO's focus? A digital strategy. The plan? First, modernize the ERP. Then, automate key processes. Lastly, integrate AI to power real-time decision-making. Systems weren't broken. They were blind. Joule worked inside SAP. But beyond it? It saw nothing. The real damage? Hidden in plain sight. What we thought were small glitches were actually systemic failures. Missed heat and ladle outputs. Cracked billets detected too late. No alert when gas pipelines fell below threshold. Rejections across billets, blooms, flats, rolled products, touching 30%. Missed compliance updates. No audit trails. 20-minute turnaround per truck. Just to enter the gate. Escalation fatigue. No traceability. Joule helped inside SAP. But it couldn't reach furnace logs, PDF inspections, or years of technician chatter. We were losing steel. and barely saw it coming. We didn't gamble the entire plant. We started with one furnace, where quality, safety, and compliance intersect. By now, the evidence was undeniable. SAP Joule could assist within the structured fortress of S/4HANA. But the real failures lived outside, trapped in handwritten logs, inspection PDFs, shift notes, and years of unstructured records. So, we launched an internal assessment. Could a general-purpose LLM give us contextual understanding across structured and unstructured data? Could it reason across contracts, technician SOP, gate logs, and emissions records? Could it be governed within SAP BTP with enterprise-grade security, traceability, and compliance? The result, a pilot stack using an enterprise-grade LLM via SAP S Generative AI Hub, HANA Cloud Vector Engine for fast retrieval, SAP BTP as the secure orchestration layer. We didn't need just automation. We needed understanding. That's what flipped the switch. We needed reasoning, not just reporting. The solution? A large language model, trained on our domain vocabulary, connected through SAP BTP, feeding on IoT streams, QA reports, SCADA historian logs, and compliance documents. It wasn't replacing Joule, it was extending its reach into the grey zones of the shop floor. For the first time, patterns emerged that no ERP ever saw. The architecture came alive. SAP S/4HANA handled structured transactions. Joule stayed focused on ERP assistance. But through SAP BTP, data pipelines fed the LLM. IoT streams, SCADA historians, shift notes, QA reports, compliance logs. The result? A unified context engine, finally seeing what ERP alone missed. This wasn't a generic LLM experiment. Every layer was engineered for production-grade scale. SAP S/4HANA stayed the core system of record. SAP Joule remained the co-pilot within SAP. SAP BTP handled orchestration, AI core, integration suite, and data pipelines. The domain-tuned LLM operated in a protected inference layer, not directly connected to production SAP. IoT streams, SCADA logs, QA reports, and compliance data, all harmonized through the SAP HANA Cloud Vector Engine. Every inference was fully auditable. Every decision, explainable. Enterprise-grade. CIO approved. But even with the architecture mapped, the CIO paused. Could this hybrid AI stack handle the real factory? What about model drift? Could compliance auditors trust the black box? And above all, would plant managers accept AI's judgment? These weren't technical diagrams anymore. This was enterprise risk. We didn't bet the entire plant. We piloted the furnace. A domain-trained LLM with full access to SCADA logs, QA sheets, technicians' SOP and safety protocol. The outcome? Rejections down from 30% to just 5%. First 5 batches, 100% output. And, for the engineers, finally, answers in seconds. The pilot results were undeniable. But this wasn't enough to unlock full-scale rollout. The board convened, CIO, MD, and department heads at the table. Live plant risk. ROI certainty. Regulatory implications. The board demanded a full budget proposal with vendor commitments, architecture finalization, and operational guarantees. This wasn't a generic LLM experiment. Every layer was engineered for production-grade scale. SAP S/4HANA remained the system of record. SAP Joule stayed embedded as the SAP native co-pilot. SAP BTP orchestrated AI core, integration suite, and real-time data pipelines. The domain-tuned LLM operated inside a protected inference layer, fully isolated from production SAP. IoT streams, SCADA historian logs, QA reports, emissions data, all harmonized through the SAP HANA Cloud Vector Engine. Vendor selection was meticulous. Infrastructure partners for redundant servers and dual-path internet bandwidth. SAP implementation partners for S/4HANA modernization and BTP enablement. AI and LLM integration partners for model tuning and governance. IoT and SCADA system integrators for real-time data ingestion. Cybersecurity vendors for zero-trust protection, network segmentation, and plant-wide OT site security. Plant network technicians to rewire factory-level connectivity and ensure operational uptime. Every inference was auditable. Every decision explainable. Enterprise grade. CIO approved. But even with the architecture locked, the real questions remained. Could this hybrid AI stack withstand live production volatility? Could model drift be detected and controlled? Would compliance auditors accept explainability over transparency? And perhaps the biggest, would plant managers trust RA's judgment over decades of experience? This wasn't about technical diagrams anymore. This was enterprise risk management. The board listened. The CIO laid out the full blueprint: technology, risks, controls, audit paths, vendor accountabilities. This was no bluff. Backed by pilot results, input from department heads, site visits to reference implementations, and vendor consultations, the CIO had answers. The MD, alongside operational leaders, supported the case. He met the chairman. The full board reviewed the vision. The approval was unanimous. The green light, granted. Execution didn't begin at the shop floor. It started at the foundation, the data center. SAP S/4HANA was enhanced. SAP Joule modernized. A dedicated AI inference cluster was provisioned. SAP BTP orchestrated AI core, integration layers, and real-time pipelines. Once readiness was validated, the CIO moved outward. Integrating sensors and PLCs across coke ovens, blast furnaces, rolling mills, and SMS. In operations like blast furnaces, raw material quality and moisture affect fuel efficiency. In SMS, milliseconds decide alloy integrity. In rolling mills, temperature drops can ruin tonnage. Across the plant, timing wasn't just critical, it was existential. The infrastructure had to be fast, fault-tolerant, and explainable. Enterprise-grade AI, finally, in production. The board didn't ask for code. They asked, can we trust this will work across shifts, people, and problems we haven't seen yet? Trust couldn't just be manual wisdom passed shift to shift. It had to be encoded. Repeatable. Auditable. Scalable. Every decision path, from billet rejections to emissions violations, was turned into logic trees. AI wasn't replacing operators. It was protecting them. What used to be tribal knowledge became system prompts. Operators stopped guessing. Escalations were traceable. Decision latency collapsed. Even with automation, people stayed in control. We gave teams the power to adapt rules. We turned trust into source code. This wasn't just transformation. It was translation of trust into code. The answer wasn't pure cloud. It was hybrid. Cloud LLMs for reasoning. On-prem SCADA for speed. SAP BTP became the secure bridge. Latency wasn't a luxury, it was mission critical. One wrong delay in SMS, and additives missed the heat. We needed LLM power without internet lag. So we split the brain. Cloud LLMs handled reasoning. On-prem SCADA stayed local. The SAP Cloud Connector bridged them securely. AI inference happened in the cloud. But the data? It never left the plant. We mirrored telemetry via SAP Cloud Connector, encrypted, auditable, and policy-bound. In a regulatory maze, this wasn't just architecture. It was assurance. This wasn't the cloud talking to machines. It was a secure handshake. Across layers, networks, and realities. Redundant firewalls protected the mission zone. Operators stayed in control. Even as decisions sped up. We didn't choose the biggest model. We chose the one that could reason across hot metal tapping, additive dosing in SMS, rolling mill loads, and blast furnace gas logs. That could interpret raw material grades, cooling patterns, even predictive maintenance flags. And still speak like a metallurgist. GPT became our primary. Claude was the fallback. This wasn't just NLP. It was fluency in the language of a ferrous plant. Not just artificial intelligence, but applied metallurgy. Another threat? Silent, but lethal. Compliance. Our LLM-powered layer delivered real-time alerts for every new mandate, instantly digesting laws, deadlines, and documentation the moment they dropped. But more critically, it unearthed historical compliance mandates the plant had never acted on. Some were years old. All carried risk. Whether it was an emissions filing or a worker safety directive, the LLM gave us proactive plans, not just reminders. In a plant governed by dozens of central and state agencies, this became the legal nerve center. And more than alerts, this AI created audit trails, version histories, and action trackers that turned regulatory chaos into structured compliance. It didn't just flag rules. It defended the plant's right to operate. Before this, compliance was reactive, chasing deadlines, scrambling for documents, missing regulatory nuances. Now, the AI flag changes the moment they landed. It preempted audits, predicted risk exposure, even suggested remediation paths before violations ever happened. No more firefighting. Just foresight. This wasn't just compliance reporting. It was protection. Protection of lives, of licenses, of legacy. Audit trails became defensible stories. Every escalation now left a breadcrumb. Our right to operate? Secured, in code. The cloud wasn't the bottleneck anymore. We replaced a legacy 20 megabits per second MPLS uplink with 500 megabits per second of enterprise-grade internet bandwidth, direct to SAP BTP and AI endpoints. To ensure failover, we deployed redundant internet sources. So even if one link dropped, the plant never paused. Inside the plant, we upgraded to a 500 megabits per second industrial fiber backbone, linking every control room, every historian. Fast enough for real-time edge inference and SCADA speed decisions. Speed without security is a liability. We upgraded to ISO 27001 grade defense, zero trust policies embedded across every layer. Endpoints were hardened. Plant-to-cloud traffic was wrapped in API guards. Redundant firewalls fortified the DMZ, ensuring campus networks stayed isolated from external traffic. But we didn't stop there. Inside the plant, we microsegmented the fiber backbone, with zone-level firewalls between IoT clusters, PLC racks, and historian servers. No lateral movement. No silent compromise. Even the AI inference layer wrote encrypted logs with full audit trails. This wasn't just network security. It was industrial immunity. We didn't just bolt on AI. We built an architecture where data flowed securely, continuously, and explainably across 5 layers. Shop floor, integration layer, AI reasoning, human UX, security. Every alert, every insight, every escalation, trackable and auditable. This was no longer a system of record. This was a system of truth. This wasn't about dashboards. It was about decisions, fast, secure, explainable. What emerged was a new executive language. Decision latency tiers. AI maturity models. Data-to-value flowcharts. And a strategic whiteboard that redefined how factories think. Joule. Native to SAP SAS. Auto-compliance. LLM. Unstructured intelligence. Voice-first UX. Agent extensibility. Together, they became a living digital twin of every billet, every shift, every escalation. Raw material quality checks were now controlled. Fuel and coke dosing adjusted dynamically, based on real-time moisture readings and planned blast furnace load profiles. Ladle output adherence? 100%. QA cycles ran 35% faster. Rejection rate dropped from 30% to under 1%. Truck turnaround, 20 minutes, down to under 1. Spare parts were tracked, forecasted, and accounted. Compliance? 100% on time. Plant operators, experts in the process, always found the root cause. But AI didn't replace their eyes. It revealed what even experience could sometimes miss. It took corrective action before the damage was done. Aiding, not replacing, the ones who know the plant best. Five layers. From PLCs to prompts. From shop floor noise to strategic clarity. The entire factory mapped, integrated, and governed by design. From shop floor sensors to the integration layer, to the AI core, to decision dashboards, to compliance-grade security. The entire flow, compressed. Decisions now take seconds, not hours. This wasn't about dashboards. It was about decisions, fast, secure, explainable. Joule was native to SAP. SAS-based. Auto-compliant by design. But the LLM brought reasoning. Voice-first interactions. And extensible agents that could cross silos. Together, they formed a living digital twin. Of every billet, every shift, every escalation. Not just analytics, awareness. This wasn't about dashboards. It was about decisions, fast, secure, explainable. From heat deviations to executive reports. Every decision path was now traceable. Teams no longer guessed. They tested, tuned, and evolved logic without rewriting code. We built a system that learned from operations and scaled across every function, every shift. What we left behind wasn't just a running plant. It was a playbook. Codified, explainable, transferable. An industrial blueprint. Ready to be adapted, scaled, repeated. We didn't just automate one unit. We created a framework. This plant became the blueprint. Every billet, every furnace, every exception. Now captured, codified, and transferable. from crisis to repeatable advantage. It's no longer trial and error. It's a playbook for CIOs ready to unlock context, compliance, and control without breaking the plant. What started as a gamble is now a blueprint. Next, sustainability AI, predictive procurement, in-house models. Not just automation, but foresight engineered. Legacy meets future, one billet, one decision at a time. You've seen our steel journey, raw input to finished product. But trust isn't just about output, it's about decisions. So we ask you, how would you redesign trust in your plant? This is CIO Whisper. The future's moving fast. Subscribe for future-proof insights or get left behind. CIO Whisper.